Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the late one on this beautiful Thursday evening, the 19th of the 11th. Welcome to you over there on Instagram. Welcome to you over there on Facebook. Welcome to you over there on YouTube. And welcome to you everywhere in the world. Awesome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on this beautiful night, well, here I go again with another session of In Review and with my guest. And we're not calling them guests anymore. We're calling them our educated panel friends, Keima and Keisha and Dr. Burton. Now, as usual, we touch on various topics of the week that we bring and that people has put forward to us. And of course, what we do, we go through it. And as we are just the laymen out there and just wanting to bring a layman perspective to everything as well. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest tonight, and we're just going to go straight into it. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. Keima and Keisha. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies. Ladies and
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
How are you doing? Good?
We're doing fairly well.
Yes. Can I just say that this is indeed an opinion-based show, but we do have different variety or various expertise, I should say, depending on our background. So it may just be come in handy based on what the subject matter is. So we're not just lay people. We, as you rightly say, we do have some background that we could contribute, or we like to think we could add to the subject.
And Keima, what do you say, Keima?
I completely agree. I suppose our voices for the lay individuals out there, some of the things, and I think this news platform is very interesting because some of the comments that you probably hear here, you won't hear it on mainstream media. So I think we've mentioned before, this is now the mainstream because some of the things that is very censored out there, you won't hear it there. You could hear it here, but of course we bring a different variety of views and ideas, and a lot of people could relate to.
I'm glad you said that as well, because I got a feedback last week to say, Sylbourne, the persons on this show, they're not experts on these things. And I said, no, they're experts in life.
Well, absolutely. And that is a valid point. I think people seem to neglect that lived experience is just as important as the person who might be educated on a subject matter. So we can't forget that at all. Yes.
And of course, you're waiting for Dr. Burton. We got Keisha Allen and Keima Allen. They look similar. There's something similar about them. They claim to be twins, but one insists that she came out first.
I am the firstborn, and the world needs to know that.
The first will be last, and so we won't go there.
Yeah, and I think I see David trying to get in. Now on Instagram, I just want to welcome you guys. You asked, how do I share this? You'll have to come on to Facebook or YouTube in order to share this. And or you can share it as well on Instagram. That's how we do it. As well, I want to welcome in from the United States. Greetings from Donald Trump. Sorry. I don't think Michelle is gonna lie that, but greetings from.
She might tell you all.
That's why it's an opinionated show, and Delroy Stewart, good evening, sir, and welcome. No, I think we're in a very interesting time, and I just came off listening to what's happening in America there. We're not going to touch this further, but just preliminary, and it looks like there's going to be some serious corruption there, man. It's like a kangaroo situation there in America, whereby the court will have to sort it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I've actually read a few minutes ago about there's 2 individuals who's going to be or who's been charged apparently for voter fraud for is it 8,000 ballots. So I suppose Trump was onto something. We'll see how he goes in the court, but yeah.
Yes. Somebody say hi, Donald. They got you. Hi, Donald.
Anybody coming over from America, we just say hi, Donald.
No. It's very interesting what is happening. But first of all, until David come in, when I want to talk about a vaccine, vaccine. And why I say vaccine 3 times, because I was fact-checked by my pronunciation of such diction. I was saying vaccine last week. Somebody messaged me and said, Sylbourne, why do you keep saying vaccine? I said, oh, it's my Jamaican patois. And they said, no, I'm Jamaican as well. And I don't say vaccine, you know. So I was fact-checked on that.
So how do you pronounce it then? I said vaccine. Is that right? Vaccine?
Yeah, vaccine. So I learned something last week, and I'm grateful, you know, because I always like to get people fact checking me or giving me criticism. They always say, I hope you don't mind, but can I say? I said, please go for it. And maybe do I look as if I'm going to be offensive if somebody criticizes me? I don't know.
Absolutely not. Yeah. But that's interesting, Sylbourne, because that's a good thing about this show. I think unlike other people show or other shows, you know, people just say what they have to say and they don't really take feedback on board. But we really appreciate the response from our listeners.
Yeah, and that is good because it shows that they're listening and they have an interest in us as well. Now, I just want to touch on something there. And there's an inquiry about Priti Patel broke the rules. Priti Patel is our great Home Secretary that everyone loves, everyone adores, and everything like that. What do you say about that?
That's a bit of sarcasm in there, right?
Nah, I don't do sarcasm. This is not a view, you know.
I don't know if everybody loves her.
Yeah,
she is the darling of the Conservative Party, if you want to put it that way. The grassroots really adore her, and I think Boris Johnson has a bit of problem on her hands because obviously Priti Patel has been accused of a bullying.
Yes,
and bullying is very serious, particularly in the workplace. And we know a senior civil service individual was actually resigned as a result or left the civil service because of the allegations of bullying made towards him by Priti Patel. Now, Priti Patel is obviously still in cabinet, and there have been investigation. I think the investigation is still ongoing. Apparently, what we've heard today is that when that investigation is concluded, it's more likely that she will get a slap on the wrist, or should I put it, a written warning as the most severe sanction that the government, or should I say Boris Johnson, is prepared to give to her. Now, the question is whether that is appropriate, because many of us in the workplace know harassment, bullying and harassment is supposed to be taken very, very seriously, and seriously to the extent that it's potentially a dismissal. And so it will be very, very interesting to see how this is taken, but it doesn't seem that the potential sanction, if it actually does come out to be and is proven that she has bullied the individual or the senior civil servant, the sanction would be severe enough. But we will see how it is. But I could understand where from Boris Johnson, he has a very tricky position balancing the fact that she's a darling of the party and obviously wanting to protect her and making sure that she remains in the party, but also having to marry up the severity of or the extent of what she's done or allegedly.
Well, it's very interesting because in the article it says that draft report concluded in the summer that Home Secretary Priti Patel had broken rules on ministers' behavior. Sources familiar with the content say Cabinet Office began an inquiry into her conduct after Sir Philip Ratman, the most senior Home official, resigned in February. But wasn't she also caught in problem recently where she, I think, did some stuff without telling this cabinet or so? Sir Philip, who is suing for unfair dismissal, alleged that staff felt Ms. Patel created fear in the department. Keisha, is she fearful?
I am not fully aware of the facts on this matter, but I do know that, from my understanding, there wasn't a formal complaint that was made.
Yes.
And on that note, I'm more concerned that we're at the stage where we've waited for allegations to be made and there's no due process, internal process that was followed. And so as far as she's concerned, it's almost like if someone has wronged you in a workplace, Keima, for example, you should know the employment procedure and you should follow that from the outset. The problem that we have in this case is that these wasn't any formal complaint made at the time when she was the head of the civil service. That's my understanding. And if that is the case, then surely I could understand why there will be, or more likely to be, a slap of the wrist, because you can't really fully investigate something in hindsight, for example, rather if you don't have sufficient evidence at the time to conduct that investigation, if you're understanding me.
Yeah,
that is true, but there is some, I think now looking into it, there's some allegation or some reasonable to believe that there has been some level of bullying that has taken place, and also the individual, the senior civil service, is actually taking the whole matter through the courts to tribunal for unfair dismissal. So it's going to play out in the court either way. And we will have to come to some form of conclusion as to whether there is the allegation is true or not. But from based on what being put out there in the newspaper, it seems as if there is enough to suggest that that is the case.
Yeah, but surely the first step is actually to follow the complaints procedure internally, isn't it?
Ideally, that any individual should do that. That's always the best practice to resolve things internally. But if the bullying is deemed to be so severe, this individual may not want to deal with it to that point and might resign and just decide I'm taking it to tribunal, which they have the right. They could do it that way as well.
Yeah, I want to just bring in Dr. Burton. David, there's a slot which I put for you there, and your name is even there, but we can't see you. Can you speak? Just speak and let me if you can speak. David, can you hear us? Okay. Well, his slot is right there, as you can see. David, can you hear us? Let me hear if you can hear us. Speak. 1, 2, 3. Okay. He can't hear us there. Now, one of the things that we have seen right here said, another source said the report called it unambiguous in stating that Priti Patel broke the ministerial code and that the Prime Minister buried it. A spokesman for the Home Secretary, she had always denied the allegation and that there had never been any formal complaints made against her. What is it saying about the government at the same time? Because the government is under pressure regarding COVID, because people are feeling like there's a lack of effective leadership regarding COVID at the same time. Do you think Boris is under any pressure? He's also self-isolating.
And then you've got to take into account Brexit as well.
Brexit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the government is under a lot of pressure at the moment, and I think they are under scrutiny. And unfortunately, the spotlight is actually on this government because they have to deliver. There's a lot of pressing issues that has to be dealt with imminently. You know, clearly the issue with Priti Patel, bullying in this country, we take that very, very seriously. The government, whether they like it or not, as in, you know, the Conservative Party will have to look. People will be looking at the Conservative Party to see how they will redress that. Then you have the current issue regarding the COVID pandemic. I mean, but based on the news, all you're seeing is spikes everywhere these days. It's quite unfortunate because by the time you're gonna be almost at the end of the year, you would think by now the government have a handle on the issue. It doesn't seem as if there's any control there. You know, people are concerned about their future. You know, people are concerned that, you know, and Keima will talk a bit about the furlough scheme and possible redundancies, job losses. All those, the people are concerned about what their future look like. And people are looking at 2021 now thinking, well, you know, if this 2020 has been such a difficult year, what will 2021 look like? And unfortunately, the government hasn't put together something to inspire hope in people. And we're in a position where the people are under a lot of pressure. And we need good leadership. We need good governance at this time. And I'm not quite sure if the government is actually understanding the severity of where we are as a nation. Yes.
Well, definitely we have good governance, and good governance will come in with David. So I'm sure. David, how are you?
I've got gremlins, Sylbourne. I got gremlins. That's the problem.
You got gremlins.
How are you guys? I'm sorry about this evening.
Good.
Good to see you, Dr. Burton.
Well, David, if you got gremlins, the worst thing to do is just throw water on you, or you have more gremlins.
You're rebuking me. Well, I think there are gremlins.
Rebuking.
there are gremlins in the government. How are we talking about bullying in 2020 on live visual display? I don't quite get it. So obviously I was listening in. You guys couldn't see me, but I could see you. I can hear everything.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't quite understand why we are where we are with regards to what's going on. Obviously, as this report is coming out, you have a grievance that's going on, and that's going to be handled in due course. But I do think it's a bit unfair that that Fitzy hasn't had to take a little bit of a step back from public duty. Most people, when they're going through these kind of things of a grievance, exactly, that people have to take a step back. And I think she's opening herself up a lot more for being accountable for her way of handling particular issues and concerns at the moment. And I get that we're in a different time. We've got Brexit, we've got COVID, we've got lots of things going on, and to change position and to have somebody removed, either temporarily or otherwise, may well have a bit more disharmony for the government. And I guess Boris needs backers at the moment in time with regards to his position. So the fact is, though, that she's obviously in a position which has really caused a lot of angst amongst party members, and also in the public display that's going on here. So I do wonder about why it is that she's still in her position of power.
So you're of the view that she should really step back while this war.
Well, I think so. I mean, just for a while. I'm not saying resign. I'm not saying that she needs to come out of politics altogether or anything like harsh like that. I'm saying that whilst this is going on, these little tidbits that come out don't do any favors for the government that's already in a kind of a fractious moment in time with regards to the way that it's handling the current crisis and Brexit and otherwise. So it just doesn't help situation. And I think if Boris just led a little bit more and just said, okay, look, it's time for you just to step back a little bit. The position's not yours to lose, but just let's step back a little bit. It's not an acknowledgement that she has completely fallen foul, but at the same time, we've already had, I know we're not touching on this right now, but we've already had Dominic Cummings, his goings and so forth. It just doesn't show the government to be in a good light, to have further things that distract from the things that need to be handled at this moment in time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, if I bring in Keima, you're in HR, isn't it? Is that correct? In HR, in a situation like this, if a staff or a manager or whatever is caught up bullying and there's a disciplinary process going on, what would happen for the layman, the plebs? So, what would normally happen?
Well, you'll go through an investigation, and depending on the nature of it, you might be suspended, and whilst the investigation is taking place. Whilst that is taking place, you obviously being called into a formal meeting. Something like bullying and harassment, it will be deemed as gross misconduct. So that's a dismissible, if you want to put it, offence. And then you will go to the hearing following the investigation. And from the outcome of that investigation, of course, there's different. The outcome could be obviously possible, I don't know, final written warning if there's a possibility that this individual could be trained or reformed, if you want to put it that way, or likelihood that that person will be dismissed, and particularly if you're working for an organization where bullying and harassment is taken extremely seriously. And I think bullying and harassment in the workplace these days are taken seriously. And so it would be very, very interesting to see how Boris respond to this, and because a lot of people are watching, young people are watching, people in the workplace are watching, and obviously it's the message that you are also sending as well. I mean, if you could continue to harbor somebody in the work environment who's actually fostering a hostile environment, it says a lot about you as a person and your leadership as well. And it will be, for me, be very questionable if Boris continued to keep her in her cabinet. Although one part of me will say that he would, because he's a very loyal supporter of Boris, and also the grassroots. So he's in a bit of a conundrum, but it's whether he'll be able to show leadership on this issue and do the right thing. Okay,
well that's Keisha. In the last word, I want to jump from this one.
I think it's quite interesting that Keir Starmer did take a very strict approach when having to deal with anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. And it'd be, as Keima said, it'll be very, very interesting to see how Boris Johnson deals with bullying, from somebody who is trusted and loyal to him. And I think everyone's watching him at this time.
And as you just mentioned, Jeremy Corbyn there, because actually he landed right onto a point whereby the BBC had been told that Jeremy Corbyn's solicitors have written to the Labour Party calling for his suspicion to be lifted because he was readmitted to the Labour Party, but the whip has been withdrawn. He can't sit as a Labour MP. So the former leader was readmitted as a party member on Tuesday after a short suspension for his reaction to a report into anti-Semitism in Labour, but his successor, Sir Keima, has refused to let him sit as a Labour MP, saying his remarks had undermined trust with the Jewish community. And where you have the Jewish community now is actually saying that they feel betrayed. It is like you just sort of give them a little sweetie to hold or a candy and then actually box it out of their mouth to a certain extent. So, I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, with Jeremy Corbyn not sitting as a Labour MP, and based on that, are they playing games?
I just want to, I mean, this is a bit laughable now. Not laughable, not laughable on the fact that the anti-Semitism. That's not a laughable moment.
Yes.
Bullying is not a laughable moment. I just wonder what it is that's going on in politics. Yes. If I'm part of an organization and that organization has got rid of me, why would I want to be part of that organization? Is the question I would like to know. I'd like to know that. Why is it that Jeremy Corbyn, who's been taken out of the organization, whether rightly or wrongly, I think rightly, because he made comments that they need to pass. Why is it that he's trying to get back into the organization? I just don't understand. He'd have to answer that question for me. He could still do his thing by operating personally. He doesn't need to be part of the Labour Party. He has been the leader of the Labour Party. He's now not the leader of the Labour Party. I don't know why it is that he needs, and this for me is just another distraction. That's why I say it's laughable. It's a laughable act because you just, what's the motivation? What's the need, necessity? Because it distracts now Labour from dealing with other things at hand. It distracts people from not feeling that they can be part of Labour because of the whole anti-Semitism thing, which is a serious thing to take in consideration. So I just again wonder why it is that he has to feel that he has to be part of the Labour Party, and I'd love him to answer that question. I'd love somebody to put it to him and just say, well, with an organisation that obviously does not want you to be part of it, why do you want to be part of it?
And that's a valid point which you flagged up there, David, because it now shows Keir Starmer, who is actually in recent days wanted to move forward, but he keep getting pulled back. So he hasn't got a free hand up to this day because you got the faction. There's a massive faction there because you got the Jeremy Corbyn far right left who are actually behind him and say this is unfair. You got the Jewish people are now saying, hang on a second, bullying, anti-Semitism, that's not fair. I don't think they're taking it that serious. So Starmer now has his hands and he's back against the wall now because he's trying to pull a party together, which is split right in the middle now with the Corbynites and the Blairites in a certain way. That's just my think about it now. And I wouldn't want to be in this show at this moment because it's like a deja vu situation. In a situation.
I mean, Starmer, to his credit, is doing his best, I think, in trying to manage it.
I think.
Sorry. But yeah, Keisha, go. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right, David, and that is a very good question. I think Keir Starmer, when he got appointed as the leader of the Labour Party, I think he started off well, and I think asking Jeremy Corbyn to resign was a very, very good move. That's just my opinion. I know that a lot of people within the Labour Party found that to be divisive and destructive, and they've, as Sylbourne, you rightly said, there seemed to be a division that has been caused because a group of the Labour rights, if you call them, so now are siding Corbyn. and now you have that sudden split. I think the split was always there, but now is more visible because of what Keir Starmer did. And I think what he needs to do is maintain the direction that he's actually took from the beginning, and stay the course, which means that, so what, Corbyn and your team, if you don't like the decision I've made, you just have to take you have to accept the decision that I've made as a leader of this party. Because, you know, one of the key roles that Keir Starmer has to take right now is to unify the party, but he cannot unify the party, and surely he cannot get people to support the party when there's actually people believing still that anti-Semitism exists within the party, and he has to do everything to demonstrate that he's doing everything he can to actually eradicate that out of the party. And if it means getting rid of Corbyn, come what way, do what you have to do. And I think that he actually had taken the right steps. I'm now concerned that he's beginning to conform, and I believe that he's changing that direction, because clearly he must be under, you know, some type of pressure, which is quite unfortunate. I think personally, in the long term, if Keir Starmer remains the leader, he would actually have a good standing against Boris. But the way how things are looking right now, I'm not quite sure, you know, because of the increase in division that's happening, and and the uncertainty that he seemed to be having these past few days. I'm not sure how that will go now.
Well, for me, I'm from the outset. I look at the Labour Party, and I just wonder if they've stayed in opposition too long, where they've now become very comfortable in opposition. So where they've got an opportunity, they've got a very good leader and a pretty much a very good chance of beating the Conservative at the next election. Now they've decided to split the party even more. So with the party being split, it actually what they effectively have done is undermined Keir Starmer's leadership, and that is that is a terrible indictment, because that would not reflect very, very well for the general public. And so Labour really need to look at themselves and think, how are we going to fix this problem? Because if we want to fight the next election, we have to come across as a strong party who's willing to take this country forward. And if they're continually busy fighting, internal fighting, there's no way that they will be able to do that. And Keir Starmer, I think for once, you know, for the last couple of years, has been a leader of the Labour Party that people could finally say, oh, he's got a chance. He finally has a chance to now beat the Conservative Party. He's actually ahead in the poll against Boris. And so I just question whether Labour has been in opposition for so long that when they've got this chance to actually mobilize themselves and, you know, do the right thing, they just fall back and just go backwards.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Let's pick up, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Hey, Coach Chris Brown, nice seeing you on Instagram. Coach Chris Brown is not an Instagram guy, no. I mean, I'm his coach actually for Instagram, and I'm laughing at him there now. When we had the lockdown before, where we started to do the walk in the morning with David doing the run. David shows up because he does the run. I do the walk. Chris does the bicycle, and we've been doing that very regular for during the lockdown period. Thank you guys for coming on. Share this video as much as possible. I want to just pick up a couple of persons there. James, maybe he feels that it is cause, the place where he can do the most good and contribute to society. This is Corbyn, because Corbyn believes that he has a role in this country. Corbyn believes that he has a say. So therefore, he's been in Islington for years. He's a part of the furniture of Islington, as far as I'm concerned. So therefore, he's trying to hold on to that position as much as possible. What do we say about that?
The thing is...
Oh, go on, sorry.
No, I was just saying he is very, very influential, and the Labour Party really relies on the union backing. And he's got the union backing big time. Yeah. And so that is where the split comes in. But, you know, and I think he knows that. And the Labour Party really, really needs him in some ways. And to be forefront, I mean, Keir Starmer is going to have to be really tough. I mean, really tough decision in order to pull the party together.
I think I agree with you regarding the unions, but I do think that irrespective of whether Corbyn's there or not, the unions will be behind the Labour Party. They have historically been there before his existence, and they will be there after. I take the point. I think it's a good point that James raises. He does feel it's his cause, but I think you've got to think the long game here. And obviously he's thinking about his own interests rather than for the party itself that he's represented for many a year. You've got to think about the party. The party at this moment in time needs strong leadership. It needs unity. It needs people together to form an opposition effectively, and for it to channel and potentially be the next government. And especially at this moment in time. And he's not really thinking about that, if I'm being honest. As I said, with a party that he was part of previously, and I get it, it's part of it, it's part of him, but his position is obviously not as a leader. His position is not of that of being an MP at this moment in time. And he's saying things that are bringing the Labour Party into disrepute. Why would you want to be part of that? Why, Jeremy? Why? I'm asking them. Why.
Yeah, well, definitely he's going to have to deal with that bit now, because everything has been overshadowed. Maybe this was. It's nice sometimes to hear something else, like you hear Brexit. Oh, Brexit! At least that is some exciting. Corbyn is back in the news, taking us a bit away from COVID and all vaccine issues, and away from America, United States of America, which we will have to go to, because I don't think David has really got the coffee as yet. That virtual coffee is still hanging around. Ladies and gentlemen, David is to get coffee on the basis that Trump won. And if Trump has...
What? Wait. This is an alternate reality.
No. Let me jump in right away. I'm afraid there is a hearing effective, I believe, from tomorrow. The Rudy Giuliani. Yes, and Trump's legal team, they're presenting their papers tomorrow to the court. And so therefore we have to follow due process, Dr. Burton. We have to see what the judge says. And before, unlike the media, we have this media, this platform that we're on, we present the facts. This is not fake news. We present the facts. And so therefore the fact says we have to wait for the decision to be made by a judge, a Supreme Court, or whosoever they is good at what level the court going to decide. We're going to hear about it. We'll wait to hear the decision. And after that, if you win, we're happy to send you the coffee. But right now, we got to follow process.
David, coffee on hold. Coffee on hold.
Coffee's on hold.
Let me just say this. Yes. With each day that passes, there is a coffee tax that's being applied here. So I would just, I'd look at it like this. You could look at it like Betfair. You can cash out early. Or you
that's the problem that that's the problem we have these days. This sudden tax or this fine print that we've never been directed to in the first place.
Well, I'm just saying the process for what's happening in future years with regards to taxation in the UK.
David, just accept some compliment now and hold that for the time being. Someone love your mic set.
Oh, David. Thank you. That's what I was preparing the whole time. That's why I was late. You see, I was trying to prepare the whole scenery.
So hold on to your lovely mic set for the time being and use that as a coffee. Use that as a coffee for the moment. I love Team Keisha. Okay, there we go.
I love you too.
Okay. Listen, guys, I've been fact-checked a lot these last days by Facebook and these crazy guys. So I've gone into the alternative, and I'm starting to fact-check them each time now. Every time they fact-check me, I re-fact-check them. And I say, who are these uncircumcised Philistines?
Oh, gosh.
Who tend to, I write it back to them. I say to them, you don't know what you're doing. You're stopping us from having an opinion. You're being like the Gestapo. And people say, why are you saying that? Well, you're on their platform. So I said, well, it's their platform. So, if they find it a bit offensive. David, listen, the same thing about the Gestapo bit, which I just talked about with Hitler. The same thing about Chinese communist state, whereby they talk about blocking information. The vaccine.
Are you pronouncing it right?
I'm pronouncing it right because
Dr. Burton, we've got to get it right.
Yeah.
We don't want to be fact-checked on that again.
David, Tony Kelly called me out and said, vaccine. People are feeling like they cannot speak up as to their reservations about the vaccine. I've been getting videos. I don't know if you guys have been getting these secret videos coming around a lot about this vaccine, about futile and all those sort of things. And I feel like people are feeling a bit suppressed, as if they cannot somehow share their thoughts, share their views, share their opposition to the vaccine. I don't know what's your take on it and where we are now, because I think it is Pfizer and another company has now promote this vaccine, and Trump is saying, I did it.
Trump is saying I did it. I think with regards to the vaccine, I'm going to keep it small, simple, as I always keep saying, you know, the vaccine itself has to be effective and it has to be safe. Meets those two criteria, perfectly happy to take. Now, the issue is, for most people, is that they've heard through the news, they've seen in the press, the vaccines take years to be made. And I think from that point of view, people are a little bit worried. I can't speak on behalf of people, but I'm just saying in terms of what I've inferred from folks I've listened to. And this is coming out a bit too quick. We have to remember these drug companies have been working tirelessly, more so than they would do normally for any vaccination, to get this one out. And for obvious reasons. Trying to protect the state of the world, and to restore some state of normality to people's lives, and obviously for gain as well, because that's what it's a business at the end of the day. So the persons who are responsible for bringing the vaccines to fruition, they want notoriety as well, a little bit of notoriety, the press interviews, you know, the responsibility for bringing the vaccine to the world. You know, these are things that the dreams are made of when it comes to scientists. And so we have to forgive them for that, and say, look, that's fantastic that they're trying to bring a world-saving vaccine to fruition. But I think in regards to people's reservations with regards to vaccines, there have always been reservations with regards to vaccines. MMR raises that old chestnut of unfounded links to autism, and I think that, you know, that those kind of historical issues with regards to medicines that have been used in the past and used on people to sort of reach sort of medical stupor, then we're trying to really relay that to this particular vaccine. And I don't think I do get people's reservations. I completely appreciate them and I completely understand them. What we've got to look at is the reality of life here. The reality is that with a vaccine in play, it will change the way that we go about things. I don't think it's going to be a silver bullet, as I say. I still think that the public health aspects will be adhered to for a period of time. How long, I don't know. But I go back to the tried and tested issue, which is if the vaccine's safe, if it's effective, and it's proven on both of those fronts to be that way, then fantastic. But we also have to think about the degree of fake news that is associated with vaccinations and the detrimental effect that has on the state of health. Because people will look at the vaccinations and say, oh, this vaccination is too quick, therefore a vaccination that's been used in the past is terrible, and therefore people's uptake on that would be brought into disrepute. A story that was shared with me this evening is that, you know, the issues have been raised regarding a particular of information on a news source where lots of false information was given, and people have lost their jobs in regards to that. And I think we just have to be careful with regards to information. We could all feel wise in this period of time and say we know a lot about you know, vaccinations and other health issues, and try and voice them. And it's the difference between voicing an opinion and voicing things which are factual. Opinions in this regard can be detrimental, and I think that's the reason it needs to be sort of squashed or at least tempered down.
Yeah. Keima, what's your take on what David just said?
Well, I think it's excellent news that we've got a vaccination in the vaccine in the first place, and I think it's something that should be celebrating, the fact that we've been able to do that less than a year, considering the pandemic and the severity of what has happened right across the world, and the amount of people who's actually died as a result of this COVID pandemic. So I think it's a reward. I think it's great that all these scientists has actually worked hard and above and beyond they normally have done to ensure that we've got the vaccination. I mean, of course, there's concern. There's always going to be concerns, isn't it, about being the first and making sure whether it's safe and whether enough testing has been taking place. And you don't want to be the first. You know, you've got volunteers, wanting other volunteers to go before you. So there is concerns about that. But of course, that's going to always going to happen. But it's just making sure, I think the government, they have all these processes in place anyway to test, to make sure that when it does come out, it will be safe for everybody to take it. So I think it's a great thing.
And Keima?
Keisha. Yeah, I absolutely agree with with Dr. Burton, David. I mean, the first thing that we need to do is to educate ourselves regarding the vaccine. So go on the Pfizer website, do your research, and see what is out there. What has been said and where we are in terms of actually the distribution of the vaccine. I mean, and also we're going to have confidence in the government that they've actually done everything that they should be doing to ensure the safety and quality of that vaccine before it is actually produced. Now, I'm still looking into the legal aspect of this because I am not quite sure if it's actually true. I've seen an article somewhere where they say that there's these pharmaceutical companies have been giving exemptions, as in against any future liability if there's anything was to happen to an individual as a result of taking the vaccine. I'm not quite sure that how true that is. I'm not even sure if it is possible, but if there was an article around that. And also, as Keima rightly said, we have to applaud the talented, gifted scientists out there who managed to work so hard and tirelessly this year, to produce the vaccine. I understand, well, actually from the website itself, Pfizer's website, they said that they have a current projection to produce globally over 50 million vaccine by the end of 2020, and then 1.3 billion doses in 2021. So that's 50 million by the end of 2020. So between now and December, and another 1.3 billion by 2021. Sorry, 2021, right? And so the problem, it's a good thing that they're rolling it out and they're trying to make sure that everyone across the world can actually have access to this vaccine. Some people are prepared to pay for it. I heard when Trump, I say when Trump was in government, but Trump had said that he wants his people to have access to it for free. I reckon, given, and I'm sure David would let us know. I would think that the vaccine is free over here in the UK, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we should be paying for this one.
But as you mentioned, free right there. Just before the Jamaica elections, the Prime Minister Andrew Holness Brogard had said that it's going to be free for Jamaica as well, the vaccine. And of course, there's this sort of story going on in Jamaica because they saw him meeting Bill Gates sometime before. So this picture is going around to say that there's a deal made with the devil. Because there's all these undertones about the vaccine. Say the point you want to say to Keima, and I'm going to come back to you on a particular angle. You want to respond to Keima there?
Just to say, I think there's, whilst I'm not...
Keisha, my apologies, yeah.
Whilst I'm not speaking on behalf of the health profession or otherwise, I do think that you've got to look at how, and this isn't the same as the flu, but you've got to look at the flu vaccine and who that's afforded to. And I would take inference from that it's the at-risk groups that would be afforded the vaccine first. So people who have underlying health conditions, people who are at particular ages. We hear little tidbits that are fed up by the government, over 85, over 75, these particular health conditions like cancer, etc. But we haven't, I don't think, had a formal rollout as to who will get the vaccine. Answering the point, I don't see that the vaccine will cost any of us. I don't suppose that's going to be the case. You might well find that there's private industry that will be involved at some point in time. But in the UK, at least, I don't think that there'll be a cost involved, just like there isn't a cost for the flu vaccine for the eligible.
I want to bring this point up, David, and the point I'm trying to bring forth is this. With the vaccine usage of once or twice, is that for life or is it going to be? I'm not saying you have all of the answers now, But what is the science saying? Is it for life or is it for a season as well? And while we're at it again with that same particular point, many people are saying the vaccine will have to work alongside the mask and also have to work alongside also the social distancing as well. So therefore, it is a part of that same process.
I think one thing we are all really good at is giving an answer to a question, and one thing we're not really good at is giving an answer when we don't know the answer. And I sit here today and say I don't know the answer. The facts are this: the vaccine that you're talking about there, where you take 2 hits, is likely to be for a short period of time. How long that period of time, I don't know. And you know, in terms of how we go forward, the second part of the answer, I think I do know the answer to, and that is this one vaccination or 2 hits, as you said there, and then that's it. Goodbye to the masks, goodbye to the PPE, and hello hugs and all the rest of it. I don't think it's just going to be as simple as that. I think that Public Health England have already reiterated the fact that they don't think that this vaccine is going to be the silver bullet. They don't think that this is going to be the exit strategy. It's not going to. And you've got to think again. The number of people who will have access to this medication off the bat is, as Keisha said, there are 50 million. I can't quote that figure, but she said 50 million. And that's just for one batch for one particular company. That's not going to serve the world over. And so you've got to think about the people or the rest of the world population that won't have that access to that medication. How do you treat them? Well, you've got to have the PPE, you've got to have the physical distancing and all the rest of the things that have been postulated by health officials. So that's why I keep saying that the vaccine is not the silver bullet just now. It will help tremendously, and I'm hopeful it gets us back to where we need to be quicker than any time without having the vaccine. But in terms of the first question, I don't know how long. There's a question about whether people, or how long your immunity is once you've had COVID. Is it weeks? Is it months? It's more months than it would be a year, you know, and so that's the thing. Everybody's quite individual, and I can't sit here and say that this vaccination is going to last lifelong. It would be silly for me to do so.
Okay. I want to move on, but I want to give anybody a last word to say. Dinan says, smart answer, David. You know, any last word on the vaccine, because that is something which is, I mean, we have not even spoke about COVID to see. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It does link with COVID.
Yeah. Well, I guess we always talk about COVID. I mean, we're still on the lockdown. The lockdown will last. I mean, David, what's the latest on COVID? That bit there, and we'll just wrap up on this point. I want to touch on this.
The negative side of this is that it's looking like the 2nd of December will not be that period of time where we just go back to where we were and reset. We'll find out next week with regards to the government's plans in regards to Christmas. So again, I think we'll get little tidbits like we have done for the past few weeks and months now, little tidbits that come out a day or two before the big news story. And it generally happens on a Thursday night just after we've wrapped up. So I don't know whether it's these guys are watching us on the Sylbourne show and they think, okay, we'll release that information now. But yeah, in all seriousness, I think that there are going to be concerns around leading up to the Christmas period, especially with shops reopening, businesses trying. You know, it's the biggest time for business is Christmas, and I do worry about those business owners and how they're going to be able to survive post Christmas. If they don't open up, but at the same time, it's got to be done safely. So those are the discussions that will come out next week, and we can obviously further explore them next week. The other big, obviously, bit is that Boris is having to self-isolate.
Yes.
And again, that throws into jeopardy the plans of government with the Brexit negotiations. Now we're hearing that's fallen down or fell foul of COVID as well. There's a group from Michelle Barnier's group that's got COVID. So all of these, the COVID is really causing angst in the world. But the update with regards to the UK at least is that we'll hear more about Christmas. Northern Ireland, of course, as well. That's going into a little bit of a state from the 27th of November. That'll be on a further restriction measures. Yeah, there's lots of unknown questions, unknown answers to questions in regards to how we're going to fare over the Christmas period.
Yes. Well, I think it is something that we just have to keep monitoring and to, as we say, wear the mask, control the virus and save lives. And it is something. I had someone from Kenya yesterday on the show, and she was talking about a concert which they're having because it is impacting a lot on the disabled, the blind, other persons like that, which we don't think about. And the more we think about COVID, of course, you got the anti-COVID person, the anti-vaccine person, and I always find it very strange. And this is very strange, though, but it always happens. And I'm not speaking
anti-mask person.
Yeah, I'm not speaking it into their life, but most of those champions of the anti-mask or the anti-COVID, COVID tend to always reach them. But that's why I don't really speak that much.
It's a bit like when you talk negatively against the government and Rishi, who I love, by the way, Rishi, and then your internet connection doesn't work and you can't log in to the Sylbourne show.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, there's a point I want to flash up now. Let's move on from that. And I put this: why is there so much whitelash against adverts with the black couples and black family in the UK 2020? It's like what David said earlier. It is 2020 and we still have bullying. And it's 2020 and you got people going crazy because there's a couple. I want to play this video, ladies and gentlemen. And this video actually will sort of show something as to what I'm talking about.
Hey.
Hey, it's me.
Oh, hey, love.
How are you? How's Mum?
Yeah, well, we're fine. We're all good. We're good.
I'm getting so excited for Christmas.
Christmas! I just really hope I can see you lot.
Me too. I cannot stop thinking about Mum's roasties.
Whoa. What about my gravy?
What about your gravy?
Hey, you, what's going down?
Dad, not the song.
Gravy boat, coming to town. It's not any old shit. Just take a sip. It's filled with scrummy and saucy bits.
How does Mum put up with you? Your gravy is pretty good, to be fair, and I just really want to be home for it.
So my gravy is the best.
Dad.
Honey, she says my gravy is the best. Honey.
What do you think about a commercial? Is it beautiful, isn't it?
I thought it was lovely, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with the commercial. And it was just a bit of a surprise that there's a backlash, obviously.
Whitelash.
I think there is backlash. Is that what you were? Small minority of people apparently are upset about this video, and I can't see absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I think if you look at the grand scheme of things and what we normally see on TV or in the newspapers or magazines or anything like that, we don't normally see a black family or black couple together like that. You don't. It's weird because this is 2020 and people live their lives like this. But I think in the media as a whole, it's just not projected. And the thought came to me about this particular video. The other day, there was a big celebration, if you want to put it. There was the one program, I think it was Loose Woman, had the 4 black women, and everybody was praising them. Oh, they did such a fantastic job. And they've never had 4 black women on the show. And to me, it's almost like it's the same thing. In a way, they might be celebrating one on one hand and dismay on the other hand. But it's supposed to be normal. We're supposed to be this is how there's black people in this country. If you've got 4 people on TV at the same time, why are we get so jubilant? Oh, this has never happened before. And it just really tells us how far we need to go, really, if this is how we've got so either so excited or so dismayed that we've never, it just really questions, you know, are we making progress at all?
So you're trying to say that having these commercials, having these four ladies should not be seen as the litmus test, as if to say it is verifying us or validating us. That's what you're saying. It's okay, but it should not be like...
I just think we're supposed to just... This is us. We're here. I mean, the fact that we get so excited because we see what four black people on TV, or we get there's outrage because there's a black family celebrating Christmas. This happens every day in the United Kingdom. It's just really baffled me as to why this has happened. Do you know what I mean? It just really shows us that either the media over the years has deliberately selecting what they choose to show, or there is something fundamentally wrong in what's being represented in terms of the black community.
Well, the issue regarding this advert was more along the lines of people finding it offensive or complaints to Sainsbury because it was a representation of Christmas in the UK because it was showing black families, whereby the UK, they're saying it's majority black. So some are saying, well, this is not going to be some of the tweet is like, this is not going to be a white Christmas. It is somewhat of a bit of a similar nature when you had the guy from Diversity, when he did that role with the knee up on the neck. It's like maybe similar to a certain extent or maybe different, but there was a backlash there. David, what's your thoughts? I mean, you have seen some of the comments and views regarding this. Is it that the UK is so behind, or is it just like Trump America? This is what America is. This is really what the UK is, a racist country, while at the same time not everybody being racist, but it's showing its colors.
So interesting. So I'll answer your first question at the top, is what do I think about the video? Just watching it back there, I had little goosebumps just going over my...
I did as well, yeah.
Because, you know, you're seeing the VHS kind of camcorder effect, you're seeing the dancing, you're seeing the emotion, get the camera out my face, I'm watching TV, it's Christmas, you're seeing the gravy, you're seeing the cooking, you're seeing the family.
Or the daughter ashamed of her dad, smiling. When
exactly. All of that, man. And looking at that, it makes me have goosebumps. And the reason for that is multitude. It's family, it's Christmas. Talk about that geezer again, COVID, because he's dismantling, or he or she or whatever it is, this virus is dismantling our plans for Christmas. And so it makes you reflect on the times that have gone by and makes you feel good about them. And hopefully you'll be able to share those experiences again. Quality advert. Sainsbury's can have all my money for Christmas. I'll keep going there, supporting them. Fantastic project. And it for me is probably one of the better Christmas adverts that's out there. The John Lewis one was good, but I do like this advert. I think it's great. Second point, I'm going to come with a little bit of a different twist here. Are we really going to get upset about tweets? I'm just asking the question. And I'm not saying that the racism that comes behind it, the fuel that's comes behind it is something that should be respected or acknowledged or just glossed over. Of course not. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But the way that Twitter works is that I tweet something, and because you guys are friends with me, you'll see my tweet, and then you'll tweet on that, especially if you want to get traction. And when it builds up traction, the traction gives you the hashtag. And people then comment on that and feel that it may well be reflective of the state of particular persons. But racist people begot racist people begot racist people. And it's just a big up of racist people who will do that. And partly they'll do it for the banter. Partly they'll do it because they know they can do it behind a keyboard. And I'm not saying that racism does not exist. That's not what I'm saying. But in regards to this, I just think it's gained attraction. And then what we find is that our press, in the way that it reports things now, we'll look at the social media aspect and start reporting on that, and then that gains attraction again. And I do think it alludes to the point that you raised in the diversity issue. There's nothing for me to see here. The advert was great. I don't think I'll tell you the first thing I saw when somebody commented on it. They said, "Oh, there's this Christmas advert. It's come out." and I didn't, and it's fueled this hatred, blah, blah, blah. I went to watch the advert for the first time thinking I was going to see something akin to what could have been reflected in the diversity, where somebody's leaning on somebody's neck.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything. I was just like, where's the controversy here? And then I had to go back to the tweets to see what people were tweeting about. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how we're getting emotional about people's tweets, but I can see how the traction has gained notoriety. The advert is fantastic. Fantastic. There's nothing to moan about here. The fact that you've got a black family is nothing. It's a black family. How can you not have a black family? We're not talking about black families. We're not talking about Asian families. We're not talking about white families. Just because we live in this part of the world, it doesn't mean you can't reflect and acknowledge a black family. So for me, the Twitter storm that's now become the media storm in the way that it's gained traction is a nothing entity. And yes, it does show up that horrible side of racism, but that racism has always been there. I don't think that we're going to change that tonight. I would hope that it's a changing story as we progress through life. But let's just celebrate the advert. For those people who like the advert and love the advert, let's just celebrate. It was a great advert.
I want to ask the viewers this question, and also pick it and to Keisha as well. Are we then saying that the advent of social media, Twitter, Facebook, in a way, we've got to start to put these things into perspective, whereby we are not controlled by it? Because, you know, first thing people pick up their phone and they say, I don't like the Sylbourne City show. It's crap. What do you do there now? What do you do? You're going to go crazy now and try to follow the person? Or you just say, is it about people now having a sense of strength of identity to recognize that, yes, these are words. Even though they say sticks and stones can hurt my bones, but words can never harm me. Sticks and stones can break my bones, words can never harm me. But words are now being powerful. That's why we spoke about bullying, whereby bullying you have today, where you got Pretty Patel, where you got kids now, bullying, which is also on social media. So are we to minimize the Twitter thing, as what David is saying, and while recognizing at the same time, it is also a plus and a negative factor affecting lives these days? Keisha, I put that to you.
No, absolutely not, Sylbourne. I don't think we should be minimizing social media commentaries at all. I think it's very important, so people like myself will be able to see and understand people's views out there. Because I'm actually surprised, but then again, I've reflected on, you know, this issue, and I really shouldn't be surprised. I mean, what we've done, from the outset, let me just say the advert is absolutely amazing, really refreshing, and I'm just really in awe by the advert. However, I feel that who should we really blame for what's happening out there right now? And I personally feel, and this is going to be a completely different angle, but I think it's the Black community is partly responsible for what's happening here. I think we accept and we've normalized having white adverts, so adverts relating or in connection to just white people, white families, or interracial couples, and you know we think that is acceptable. We perpetuate it and we accept it and we normalize it, and we've never pushed back. We never challenged none of it. You know, as people, as a community, we've never said, "Well, hang on a minute. When I go home, my family doesn't look isn't interracial. My family is not white. Why is it's not being reflected on social media? Why is it my family is not reflected on media?" We've never challenged none of it, and we've accepted it. And suddenly, out of the blue, and it's also partly because of the media. The media perpetuate a certain type of functional family, because I suppose, you know, we have a group of people, or, you know, when it comes to Black communities or Black families, we tend to see them as a dysfunctional family. And so the standardized family tends to be, you know, the white family or the interracial couple families. And that's what's being portrayed in the UK historically. And we've accepted that. We've never pushed back on it. We've never challenged it. And suddenly Sainsbury, and it's not only Sainsbury, because I think a couple months ago in August, I believe, Argos, I did a similar advert with a Black family as well. And there were challenges, there were criticism about it. And so it's quite interesting that this year, when the Black families are coming forward as functional families, strong Black communities, Black families, it's a shock and a surprise to the nation or to a whole lot of people out there, because they've never seen Black people as having a solid family. It has never been like that for a lot of people. When you go to school, you study sociology, dysfunctional family tend to be, oh, well, the single parent family tend to be Black community. And that's what you grew up to believe. And then when you see the successful families in the media, you tend to be interracial couples or white couples. Where is the Black family? Right. And we allowed that. We perpetuated that. And we sit back and allow people to actually have a perception of our Black community in a certain way. And suddenly now we have this beautiful family represented on Sainsbury's advert. And people say, hold on, that's not right. That cannot be right. It's almost like verging on hate crime and discrimination and everything you want to call it, because it suddenly doesn't reflect them. And we allowed that. And I think we need to look as Black community, as Black people, it's supposed to be a matter of introvert. We need to look at ourselves and like, why are we allowing certain things? Why aren't we challenging certain things? Okay. If we did, we wouldn't have been here.
Okay, well, I want to just bring in, before I bring out anybody else, I just want to bring in another issue as well, because what is also being perpetuated as well is, you mentioned about the Black family, but what about the Black couple? Have a look at this.
Morning, guys. So I made a comment late last night when I saw the Sainsbury's commercial, which is so beautiful, by the way, because it just features a Black family, which we never really see. We always see mixed families. I'm always the token Black girl, and I always have a white husband with me, which for me is progress. And I know a lot of my peers have always questioned me why I'm always a token Black person. I said, look, at least we're moving forward in the world, and it's a stepping stone, because 3 years ago my afro wasn't desirable. My afro they wanted me to suppress it on screen. So to be casted as a dark-skinned couple for the new Tesco commercial, the spicy commercial, I'd never seen the Tesco club card. It featured a woman with an afro, and I know they received so much scrutiny about that advert. Which is so disappointing, because in 2020, there's so many people saying the UK is not racist, yet that is a topic of conversation. Yet that was a topic of conversation again when it came to Tesco, instead of standing up and actually using someone like me and actually going a step further and saying, you know what, we're going to use a Black couple for this. And there's a whole storyline. So we all have our quotes to say in the story. Then they show the advert for 3 days. Didn't say anything to my agent. I called my agent to let them know, hey, I haven't seen any version of us. And then to know that they actually cut us, didn't say why, didn't say anything. But for me, it was disappointing, because in my heart, I know why they cut us from the commercial, which is so sad. So thank you, Go Club Card.
I'm keeping something special tonight. It's an exciting news for someone. I'm cooking because we haven't seen each other in ages.
I'm to impress.
Ooh.
I'm impressed I'm actually cooking.
And I'm eating for 2 now.
For whatever reason you're cooking, try Let's Cook. 3 easy steps and ready in just 20 minutes. Food Love Stories.
Let me get a bowl and 2 spoons.
Do you mind bringing one in?
So now I've given you more context. I'm so happy I actually record things behind the scene. And then, obviously, when the advert comes out, then I release the footage. The advert is out. I am not it, but is out. So what do you think? I'm not saying boycott Tesco, but me, I'm boycotting Tesco.
Okay. That was powerful, wasn't it? So you see what she's actually saying, and what Keisha was saying, Keisha was saying, we got to stand up. So she's there for this advert portraying a Black family, a nice couple, Black couple, and they were cut out of it. And you had the family, which was the Black family, nice, I mean, I come from a family where a mother and father, and many black people as well, but therefore that is being offensive to some. And now you got the black couple. Well, one supermarket chain did something worse. Instead of defending it like what Sainsbury did, they pulled it because of the backlash or the whitelash.
Well,
what do we say then?
I think what I would say on that is I don't know that it was the whitelash or the blacklash. What I will say is this advert was released in October.
Yeah.
Due to release in October, nothing to do with the Christmas advert. That's the first thing to mention.
Yes.
I think she's released a video now because of the Christmas advert and the support that Sainsbury's obviously afforded to its cast and its members and this advert that Sainsbury's has put out. So I think that's the first thing. Sainsbury's did say, and I'm not defending Sainsbury's, by the way. I just want to.
I think Sainsbury was good. Sainsbury is good. This is Tesco.
Sorry, Tesco. Sorry,
I'm
not defending Tesco. Sorry. I will defend Sainsbury's until something atrocity happens. But I'm not defending Tesco's here, by the way. But I'm just saying they did reach out and they did say that they had told her why they decided to cut the advert. I don't think it looks good because I know that people get cut from things all the time. You hear of people who have been in movies and then they're watching a movie with their family and they're not actually in the movie. So I know that happens, but the optics doesn't look good. It would have been nice, as Keisha said, to have that representation across the board. And I'd be intrigued to know the reason that Tesco decided to cut them out. We can infer why they did, but I'd be intrigued to know what their official line was. And they've not shared that at all in the press. But it doesn't look good. And I think the optics is key for us all. But I just think we have to realize that this was in October and it's nothing to do with the whole season.
Yeah. Keima, Keisha, what's your take on that?
Well, Tesco is just interesting one for me because I don't know if many of you know, but they've been pulled to court recently with regards to race discrimination. And so for me, they've got a number of black people working for them, and this obviously sort of you don't want to think that it has to do with the individual's race, but then it doesn't make sense to pull the only black couple. I mean, look, the video commercial looks lovely, and I can't see why having the black couple will make any difference to it. It's just an additional couple in the video. So it's just really, really interesting to me what's going on in their marketing. I think they really need to be looking at how they respond and how they deal with race and diversity in the workplace. It's not just the shop floor that you need black people, or in the back corner, or you just you use them for just a short period of time, and when you don't want them, you just ditch them. I think they really need to be looking at their culture right across the board, top to top. Top down, because obviously it doesn't reflect very well as a supermarket. By matter of fact, a major supermarket like that. I think for me, it's just not acceptable how Tesco is represented. But yeah, that's my view on it, to be honest.
Keisha, Keisha.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we as the black community, we do. I'm used to it now. Keisha. We do need to mobilize ourselves, and we need to put ourselves out there and have our own, our own representation in certain parts of America, like Atlanta. It's standard to put on the TV and you see a black couple, and it makes you wonder: is Britain behind America when it comes to race relations? Because if this is the type of topic we're having, a conversation we're having in the UK, where in America it's standard to put your TV on and you see a black family advertising, it's something to do with the household goods, or and it's just normal. And here we're over here questioning why is it this person has been taken out of an advert. And then we are relying on a system or corporation to give us that validation that we require, that we need, to accept us to be part of whatever program they create. So we need to actually look at ourselves as people and say, why have we been settling for less in this country when we deserve a lot more?
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, and the lady, I mean, I completely agree that is racism based on what I've seen so far. I think that she's absolutely spot on. I think she was discriminated against. That is my opinion, I should say, not the opinion of Sylbourne TV. But I'm not a fan of boycotting because you know, as Keima rightly said, there are a lot of Black people who work for Tesco, and this is not the time to be boycotting things because we need every money we can get right now. And also, you know, there's some people who actually have shares and stocks and all that in Tesco. So I'm not a fan of boycotting, but I do feel that yes, we do need to make our position clear as a community.
So what I said when I watched the video and I put a post up, I said, well, I'm not saying people should boycott, but I'm looking at my club card. I'm looking at my club card, you know.
It's time to start looking at your Nectar card. That's what you need to look at.
Well, Nectar card is a Sainsbury.
That's why I say you need to start looking at that one instead.
Well, I'm always a Sainsbury's.
What's that?
I've always been I always prefer Sainsbury's. It's more user friendly to me than Tesco. So I'm always a Sainsbury's person.
You know, David made a good point there that sometimes when we see things, sometimes we've got to get the backstory sometimes. And I know sometimes we can get very heated. And that's why I try to have measured response, because while I was having the show last night talking about the other one, somebody sent it to me, that video there. And I said, I can't verify it. You know, sometimes people are malicious, mischievous, and I don't want Tesco to bring me to the cleaners, say I'm doing that. So that's the reason why I sort of discuss it in a way and put some sort of balance to it and say, what do we think? Not saying that Tesco is racist, because as you rightly say, boycotting it. I know a lot of people when I go to my favorite Tesco's, and they always, hey, how are you? One of them always look out for my daughter all the while, you know. And there are Black people there, African, you know. And so we've got to be careful. I think the message, though, is this. We have got to come to a point in our lives where we know who we are. I keep saying this all the while, where we don't need verification or validation from being on TV, for 4 ladies on TV. I mean, we have been on this for how long we have been doing this show. We have been, both of us we have been here from March or so. We have been doing this together. I mean, have anybody tell them that we're on TV every day? You know what I mean? I've been doing my Sylbourne show from 2015. You know, I keep saying,
and Sylbourne, and I really admire you, because at first when you did your show, I was like, I don't know, Sylbourne, I don't know how this is going to go, Sylbourne. I really don't. I'm going to be frank and honest with you, Sylbourne. I'm not. But then you keep talking about, you know, not going with the flow, and now I begin to appreciate what you mean. Yeah. You know, now people are looking at you, people like myself are looking at you and say, yeah, Sylbourne, I think you are onto something there. You're onto something.
Listen, man. Listen, my philosophy and my belief is just like David said, just get on with it, man. If you have a dream or you got a vision, you don't even watch what other people are doing. You know, I tell you, when I started my show, I mean, people just started doing shows right away. All of a sudden, and I said, and then all of a sudden, those shows are not around anymore. But I just be focused, consistent, not trying to get any great superstars on the show, but just getting the normal average bloke that when you get to know.
What are you trying to say about
it? Wait. You know, hear what I said.
I mean, seriously,
I didn't finish it.
Good there, so for
I didn't finish it.
Exactly.
And then you just took a shot left.
No. You didn't finish it.
Bring us back.
No. I want to get the average bloke on the show that when you find out about who they are, you're gonna say, wow, that Keima is awesome. David, he's awesome. And then I use this phrase again. That I want them on the show when they're rising. So I rise with them. Did I get it?
He's been in there for 5 years. You can see that now. He rescued the situation. He took a shot right now. Back onto the right path. I like it.
You know, but anyway, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we've got it. You know, we just have to just keep going on with it. You know, but I want to leave that now, because unless anybody want to say anything last on that, so we can wrap up. You know. Sainsbury products taste really great. Their prices do match with us. They have good offers from time to time. So there we are at Sainsbury. You can do a sponsor for the Sylbourne show, because
I was going to say
Dorian Phipps is actually sounding your tune. And guess what? She's a lady. Okay, let me tell you the story now. You remember those times when I was going for those cake? And I keep saying I'm getting those cake every 2 weeks. She's the person. She's hiding her face. She's the one that baked the cake. She's bad. You know what I mean? When I say bad, bad good in a sense. You know, she's the one that baked those cake that I used to go for every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks I used to go and get cake. That was my coping mechanism.
Those ingredients were coming from Sainsbury's.
And Sainsbury's. Sylbourne, no, you know who your real friends are. Listen,
I have to be honest.
Yeah, but listen, guys, is there corruption in America with the elections? That's so we can finish up with that. Because
shall we start with Dr. Burton? And
yes, you start with Dr. Burton about the coffee. Yes.
There you go. There's definitely a conspiracy going on here because I can't get my coffee. I just want my coffee. I don't care very much about the election anymore. The election's done. The vote is over. The president-elect is elect. There's no point in hiding and beating around the bush. I just want my coffee. But in all seriousness, I do agree there is a due process. Blah blah. Yeah, complete. But also, we've really. I think we're getting to the end of the show. We really got to think about the country in itself and how that country needs to be brought together. And I don't know that. What is the point? You know, Trump really is on the latter part of his journey in regards to being a president of the United States. I get that he has to be seen to still want the job, want to fight for his position. But I don't know in 4 years' time whether this is going to really help his re-election bid, or whether he just bounced out gracefully and said, "Look, I'll be back. I'm a winner. I've won many a thing. This time it was not in my favor, but I'll be back." That's what I had to say. But instead, he's dragging it out. You know. Anyway, whatever.
Well, I think what he's currently trying to do is to position himself. Whether he's going to run again in the next 4 years is one thing, but he needs to be able to position himself in some ways as still remain the leader of his party, which is the Republican Party, in some way. So he's trying to frame his position. Of course, whilst he's trying to do that, we have more and more people dying every day from COVID. And there is a gap in leadership in America, of course, for security reasons that cannot be good for the nation, for the as the superpower, that the only superpower in the world that's left. So that's put the America at huge risk. And of course, there's a bit of a politics aside, there's more of a self-interest here, I think, on his part, and what he's done in sort of the last couple of weeks in trying to convince people that the election has been rigged. It means it just makes it even more divided for America and for Biden in particular to bring the United Kingdom together. I mean, is that nearly 50% of people actually believe that the vote's been rigged. So he's done a very, very good job on his own to even divide the country even more. So whether this is a tactical move, which I think it is in the long run, to make sure, that group of the 70 odd million people who voted to him to continue to vote for him, I think that is probably what he's thinking in the long run. But it will be very, very interesting, I think, to see how all of this play out, and hopefully we get some resolution quickly.
Well, I did say that I stopped commenting and putting posts on America because it was just toxic, man. People were just coming at me with darts, left, right, and center. And but after hearing Juliana today, Rudy Juliana, and after hearing Sidney Powell, that's a fireborn lady. She reminded me of a barrister that I know. And then I said, if what they're saying live right and knows the news, President Trump legal team is telling the truth, the Democratic Party has committed treason. That's what some are saying. And what I find very interesting is that there's this Dominion voting system, which they're saying is investigated because the votes are counted in Frankfurt, Germany, and Barcelona, Spain. Guys, I'm going to get fact check from those guys because they're onto my case Every day I keep getting fact check. You know what I mean? Somebody said, "You've arrived." I said, "Well, it's not even arrived. It's like somebody going into your house and searching up your underwear drawer." You know what I mean? I know it sounds a bit OTT, but you feel really exposed. Somebody coming into your space, man. Then I started to fact check. Every time I see somebody say "President-elect," I said, "Fact check. He's not president-elect until the votes are verified." There it goes. That's my case. And David, you can get your coffee still, no problem. I'll give you a coffee.
No. His coffee. We're not denying him his coffee.
You are.
Neither we are denying Biden his position of place. What we are saying, we are delaying the process because we have to follow and check certain matters. Now, America is one of the longest running democracies of all time.
Yes.
Okay, and now Trump and his legal team have actually put before the people a possibility that this democracy
is not democratic.
It's not democratic. There's corruption there. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we can't be dismissive about the matter. We have to investigate. And so I do support this investigation, not because I don't want to give Dr. Burton his coffee, but because I want to find out. I mean, some part of me really want to know, could this actually happen in America? Could corruption actually happen to this level in America? Great United States of America? Could it actually happen? I really want to know. And we're about to find out. So, David, you've got to be patient with us. We've got to check the facts. We've got to see if the election was rigged or not.
On this, and this relates to the topic that was just raised earlier. Not a non-smooth transition is of great concern to the United States of America.
Oh, I've got an answer for you for that one, David. The reason why.
No, I was going to say just because it speaks to the point of the transition for the Twin Towers attack. This is not a conspiracy here, but in regards to information handover, sharing of information and transition, there was a report that looked at whether or not the lack of smooth transition may well have been reflected in that there may have been gaps in national security for America at the time. And if you're not going to have a smooth transition of information being shared, then you're liable to have issues with regards to national security. So whilst it is that we could speculate and we need to make sure that the elections were rigged, I don't think they are. There are people speaking on behalf of the independent viewpoint of looking at this election. Yes. And I just have to think, well, what is it that America wants at this moment in time? Does it want to be stable, or does it want instability and opening itself up for potential national security issues? I'm happy to wait for my coffee. I'm happy to have a cup of tea. I'm a Yorkshireman, so I like my tea. But I don't know that it's really good for America not to have a decision process.
Yeah, you're right in a sense, and there are two sides of the coin whereby America needs to have this smooth transition. Because I see Biden going around and trying to get information, and he's having these ad hoc president-elect office. I never know you have an office of the president-elect. Nevertheless, he created one. With a question sign to it. I need to fact check it actually. Don't put my fact check on it. But there's another side of the coin as well, David, and I'm sure you'll agree that there needs to be a settled position when it comes on to irregularities, corruption, because it needs to be settled. And Rudy Giuliani said something, it is not that we want to overturn the will of the people, but we want to make sure that whatever we believe is happening is sorted out, so it doesn't happen again. So I think maybe Trump is on this quest now. This is just me saying, listen, I came to drain the swamp. Let me do it properly. Even if I lose, let me do it properly. And I think that is fair. So I think in the meantime, is it wise for him to give over all these trade secrets or whatever to Biden when it is disputed? I mean, Twitter recently said, when somebody put, Trump said, I'm the president. He was fact-checked by Twitter saying it is disputed. So therefore, Biden's president-elect, you don't see anything saying it's disputed. You only hear projected. And you see this sort of disparity with the whole thing which is happening. I guess people are saying I'm a Trump man. Well, I'm Sylbourne.
That's why we have to be careful, Sylbourne, because if we try to look at it objectively, some people might say you guys are supporting Trump, but it's not that we're supporting Trump. We're looking at the facts in front of us. The bottom line is we have a man who's the president of the United States who's questioning the integrity of the election process. Now, he must have some information that we don't have. And clearly the media is not prepared to listen to him and these legal advisors of his. But the court will hear it, and I understand that we're going to start getting that information from tomorrow when they present the facts or their case to the court. So let us wait to hear what's happening tomorrow. I think in terms of a good transition that Keima and David speak about, I think that will only happen if the media come to the realization that, as Sylbourne said, they're two sides of a coin, and you need to report the facts. If journalism training tell you it's supposed to be objective, but what we have recently is some biased news. Every news channel is either biased to Trump or biased to Biden. There's nothing objective anymore. And you're talking about a smooth transition. You're not going to have it if people are actually going to try to influence your mindset, your thinking, instead of actually giving you the facts, and then you make an informed decision based on what was presented to you. They tell you what you need to know. Right. You just believe it. And this is why there's a difficulty of actually having a smooth transition, because it's creating a divisiveness within America. Because it's either you believe Trump or you don't. And if you don't believe Trump, then you listen to another network that actually said don't believe Trump. And that's why there's a split.
Just say lastly,
and I think the media need to do more to support that transition.
I did just say lastly, but this is lastly. I've just posted a link to the 9/11 Commission report, and it shows in there that the non-smooth transition essentially had an impact in regards to 9/11, and that's what I was trying to say here. That's the fact. That's the unambiguity. That's the non-partisan look at why it is that we should have a smooth transition in regards to.
You will wait for your coffee, David.
And David, you're right. There's that need for that smoothness, but at this moment, the smoothness now is going to be everybody keeping calm.
Hey, that's it.
The flow. You've never got to push back the 20th of January. They got to put it back, or if they ever start the election all over again, they're going to do that, if anything. But I've got one fact I got to say though, is that we got to go, and the time is up now. That's one fact which is established. I'm sure nobody's going to disagree with that. Yeah. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. For those on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, please remember to like and share, and send your great wishes to the team Keisha, Team David, Team Keima, and of course I just pick up whatever I get, you know what I mean, as well. And please keep safe. And study the news, study the information about the vaccine as well. Love each other. Don't worry too much about racism, but just know how much. I keep saying this. It's a tricky one. What I'm saying there. Don't let racism get to you too much. Try to focus on understanding who you are, so that you can bulletproof yourself against racism. Because you're gonna get people with discrimination. You're gonna get people with issues, and you got mad people out there, crazy people out there. But you got to know who you are. I hope that's sound advice. I hope. Anyway. All right. Any last word, guys?
Herbert should have the last word. Herbert's got the last word.
Yes.
Herbert's got it right.
Okay. So have a good night.
Herbert gets the last word. You need to post Herbert's comment. I can't see it right now. But I'm sure
I don't know what David is saying. What did David say?
He said, "Give David."
You've got to pass Herbert's comment.
That's a great comment too.
Herbert says, "Give David his coffee."
Okay. I got some Blue Mountain. I got some Blue Mountain coming downstairs, David.
Thank
don't
you,
worry.
Sir. Thank you. Good night.
But I leave on this note. I got a team Sylbourne, and I leave on that note. Thank you, Diane. I'm most grateful. I can say that I won today. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Peace.
Stay there.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next
Cheers.
week.
Bye.